What I'd like to see, Canada become our 51st state. We give them protection, military protection. We don't need them to build our cars. I'd rather see Detroit.
We've already started the pushback.
Canada looks first to the European Union.
Just 2 minutes ago, Trump had a full-blown meltdown. And honestly, who wouldn't? Canada just shut off America's battery pipeline and handed a $20 billion deal to Europe like it was nothing. This wasn't a clumsy mistake. It was a power play that exposed just how badly the US is losing the clean energy war right in its own backyard. Now Europe controls the minerals, Canada holds the leverage, and America just left shouting while the factory lights go dark.
Canada is getting ready for this fight because we know he's erratic. It may be this week, it may be next week, but there's a huge actual boycott going on.
And here's the twist nobody saw coming. Canada didn't throw a punch. They just vanished from the deal. 1 minute, they're America's most trusted supplier of battery minerals. The next, they're silently rerouting everything to Europe like the US was never even in the conversation. No warning, no debate, just a silent reset of power. The lithium meant for Michigan, gone. The cobalt lined up for Tennessee, diverted to Quebec and fast-tracked for export, not to the US, but straight to Rotterdam.
Building on our triple alignment of values, of interests, and of trust built over the years. And so today, this is a new era of cooperation.
And the most overlooked detail, Canada didn't just walk away from the deal, they physically rerouted the supply chain. Trains that once flowed south to US battery plants were redirected east to Quebec, prepped for European export through the port of Septil. This wasn't for show, it was a real shift that cut the US out of the picture completely. Because when you control the minerals, you don't negotiate, you decide who wins. And when the dust settled, guess who couldn't handle it?
We don't need them for lumber. We don't need them for anything. We don't need them for energy. We have more energy than they do. We don't need them for energy.
Trump didn't just rage in public, he'd lost it behind closed doors. According to insiders, he was on the phone with GOP governors, demanding they cut off future deals with Canadian suppliers. He called Trudeau a traitor, called the deal economic sabotage. And behind closed doors, he wasn't asking for explanations, he was barking orders. He wanted retaliation. Because in Trump's world, this wasn't just a trade loss, it was a betrayal of American dominance. He truly believed Canada was supposed to play by Washington's rules. But when Canada picked Europe over him, that's when he snapped. Leaked messages even suggest he's now pushing for a complete overhaul of US battery policy, including nationalizing lithium mines and freezing Canadian auto imports. Yeah, that's how far this just went.
The American tariffs, the new tariffs on steel and aluminum, are unlawful, unjustified, and illogical. I agree with the member.
And here's the catch. Trump doesn't talk about. His own tariffs are starting to backfire. In April, Reuters reported that his sweeping plans, not just on steel and aluminum, but now extending to critical minerals, could choke US access to the very resources its clean tech relies on. Picture this. You slap tariffs on imports from Canada or Chile. You're not protecting America, you're cutting off your supply line. It's like shooting yourself in the foot with the barrel pointed at your own battery factories. Smart politics? Maybe. Smart economics? Not if the goal was to build American batteries.
Our strategic Canada-EU or EU-Canada strategic partnership for the future will build a new and deeper relationship that brings us closer together from defense to digital.
And while Trump was still picking up the pieces, Europe didn't waste a second. They saw the opening and took it. Volkswagen locked in a $20 billion gigafactory deal with Ontario, backed by $13 billion in Canadian subsidies, and another $4.7 billion from the EU's Raw Materials Fund. That's not a deal, that's a power shift. This factory isn't just big, it's massive. Enough to power over 1 million electric vehicles every single year. And the kicker, this was the same ground US automakers had been eyeing for months. They had the plans, they had the demand, but they didn't have the urgency, and Europe did. While the US dragged its feet with politics and paperwork, the EU showed up with funding, legal guarantees, and climate commitments. Canada didn't hesitate. They didn't look back. They signed the contract, shook hands, and shipped the future overseas.
We're launching comprehensive negotiations across multiple areas of cooperation, connection, trade, security, digital, climate. And this will make us both.
And Europe didn't just sign a factory deal, they locked down the minerals too. New filings show Volkswagen took a $48 million stake in Canada's Patriot battery metals this past December, securing at least 100,000 tons of lithium per year for the next decade. That means Europe isn't leasing Canadian resources, they're owning them. While the US was stalled on policy, Europe was busy buying the ground. And what about the US? Well, the fallout was instant and brutal. Two major battery plants, one in Tennessee and another in Indiana, just announced delays of up to 16 months. Why? Because the raw materials they were depending on just vanished from the supply chain. The lithium, the cobalt, and the delivery timeline. All of it disappeared overnight. General Motors and Ford were both tied into supply deals with Canadian firms, deals that now look like scrap paper. As for Tesla, multiple sources confirmed Musk's team had been engaging Ontario-based suppliers earlier this year, hoping to lock in long-term feedstock for US battery lines. But once the Europe deal took shape, those discussions were cut off without formal notice. Even Tesla, with all its scale, leverage, and urgency, couldn't secure a place in Canada's new plan. And here's the worst part. This wasn't just a supply snag. This was a chain reaction. No minerals mean no batteries mean no cars, and no cars mean the US just lost more ground in a race it was already trailing, and the markets took notice. Within days of the Ontario-Europe announcement, analysts at Goldman Sachs and Bloomberg NEF downgraded their US EV output projections for 2026, citing mineral supply uncertainty and lost investor confidence. One report stated bluntly, the US just lost a strategic partner. That changes everything.
But when you have somebody threatening our sovereignty, well, we're hunkering down for a fight here. So yes.
Let's get one thing straight. This wasn't a pivot. It was a plan. Canada didn't just step back from the US, they rewired the entire system behind its back. Quietly passed export reforms handed decision-making to a pro-EU agency, and the US didn't even qualify. And honestly, can you blame Canada? While Washington was busy flipping policies every 2 years, Europe came in with real commitments, climate targets, multi-year contracts, and actual follow-through. Canada wasn't looking for loyalty, they were looking for reliability, and Europe checked every box. The rail routes already redirected. The subsidies signed and sealed. This wasn't about ditching an ally, it was about backing a partner who actually shows up. And now Canada's not asking the US to catch up. They've already moved on.
Well, I think the issue is that Donald Trump is claiming Canada's a narco state. The man's a liar. So would we put some more money on the border? Sure. I'd love to put more money on the border to keep American guns from shooting our people on the streets.
And of course, Trump didn't let this slide quietly. He turned it into a storyline in speeches, leaked memos, and private fundraisers. He's now framing Canada's move as a betrayal of freedom. He's telling supporters that Canada chose socialism over strength and handed the future to Europe while turning its back on American leadership. And whether you agree or not, here's the scary part. It's working. This isn't about cobalt anymore. It's about control. Trump is using this deal to pitch a new era of economic nationalism, vowing to seize U.S. mineral resources, tear up every trade agreement that's not America first, and punish any ally who dares walk off script. What began as a trade dispute is now a full-blown political weapon, and Trump's already aiming it at 2026. And here's what made it worse. Biden didn't say a word. Not a statement, not a response, not even a vague reassurance. While Trump was out there spinning the deal into a national betrayal, Biden left a blank space where leadership should have been. And in moments like this, silence doesn't calm the crisis, it confirms it. With no one stepping up to own the story, Trump didn't just fill the gap, he took over the stage.
We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away.
Let's be real, this wasn't just about Canada. This was a message to the entire world. The US is no longer the automatic first choice. And if Canada can walk away from a century-old alliance without blinking, what do you think Australia, South Korea, or Brazil are thinking right now? They're watching this unfold and asking the same question. Is the US still a reliable partner or just a political gamble? Europe's out here locking in supply chains, writing 10-year contracts, and showing up with actual plans. Meanwhile, America's stuck in policy whiplash and PR damage control. This wasn't just a battery deal, it was a shift in trust. And once trust moves, good luck getting it back.
A second issue we discussed today is critical raw materials. They are the lifeblood of the clean economy. We need them to reach our ambitious decarbonization objectives.
And here's the part no one in Washington wants to admit. Europe didn't just want Canada's minerals, they wanted control, not of a factory, but of a future. Under their Critical Raw Materials Act, the EU is racing to build an entire clean tech ecosystem that doesn't depend on China or the US. And this deal, it checks every box. From mine to port to finished product, Europe just planted a flag in North America and made sure the next decade of energy doesn't run through Washington.
In many respects, what we're committing to, from our perspective, Canada's perspective, is an ongoing process to an ever closer partnership that will bring our people closer together.
And here's the quiet detail with massive consequences. Canada didn't just sell minerals, they elevated them to defense assets. Their latest agreements slot critical minerals into NATO supply priorities, turning battery deals into battlefield strategy. While Washington debated climate bills, Canada secured a seat at the security table, and that changed the entire game. So here we are, Canada's gone, Europe's winning, and the US is left behind. Trump's yelling, factories are stalling, and the future America thought it owned, it's not theirs anymore. And if Canada's out, who's still on America's side? If you want the truth without the filters, hit that subscribe button, because this story isn't even close to over.